Namaskar. The External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar outlined India's way at the ongoing Raisina dialogue in the national capital. He said that India is not disruptive. It is more of a decider than an abstainer. He also said that it's not the India way to be mercantilist. He said India owes it to itself and to the world to be a just power. The EAM also said that India has an extraordinary diaspora, a global talent pool that's shaping international discourse. So all this is going to be our focus tonight. You're with Newsnight here on DD India. Let's begin with the headlines. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar says that India's way is not to be disruptive but to be more of a decider than an abstainer. At the Raisina dialogue in Delhi, the EAM highlights importance of maintaining equilibrium in growing ties with China, stresses that India's zero-tolerance policy towards terrorism. Iran's Foreign Minister Javad Zarif tells the Raisina dialogue that Iran is not interested in dialogue with the United States but in diplomacy. Regrets the shooting down of the Ukrainian passenger plane, says it's a mistake. And Iranian President Rouhani has rejected UK's call for a Trump deal. Foreign ministers of Russia and Iran meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the sidelines of the conference. They discuss issues of mutual interest. Foreign ministers of 11 countries as well as leaders of the Commonwealth and SCO also collectively meet the Prime Minister. The country is celebrating Army Day today. The President, Prime Minister and Defence Minister have conveyed their best wishes. The Prime Minister tweets a video showing the human face of the Army, which rescued a pregnant woman. The Army Chief pays tribute to martyrs at the National War Memorial and says that the Army has a zero-tolerance policy on terrorism. Political climate heats up in Delhi. The BJP accuses the AAP of cheating the Anna movement. Several former AAP leaders joined the BJP. Former AAP MLA N.D. Sharma accuses the party of selling tickets. AAP denies all allegations. No documents to be sought while updating NPR, nor will there be any biometric requirement. The Home Ministry says that the NPR will also be done house to house between April 1 and September 30. Makar Sankranti, Bihu and Pongal festivals are being celebrated all over the country. President, Vice President and Prime Minister greet the people on the festive occasion. And opener Rohit Sharma is ICC's best ODI batsman of the year. Virat Kohli bags the Spirit of Cricket Award for 2019. And the English all-rounder Ben Stokes gets the award for the best player of the year. Here's our top story. Now, apart from the India way, the External Affairs Minister spoke on a whole range of issues regarding India's global engagement, among them the relationships with China and Russia. He said that the relationship with China has grown as both countries emerge as dominant players on the world stage. He also pointed out to the uniqueness of the Eurasian relationship that India shares with Russia.
The fifth edition of the Raisina Dialogue in New Delhi saw issues of global significance being discussed threadbare by representatives of about 100 countries. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar addressed the conference on the second day and put across India's way of dealing with all issues related to foreign policy. On India's relationship with China, the EAM observed that both neighbors have emerged as global players and their relationship with each other too has grown substantially in proportion.
We are neighbors, okay? And whatever you might say, it's vital for neighbors to sort of reach understandings as a general principle. And our relationship, I think, has a very unique characteristic, which is that very rarely in history have two powers who are neighbors actually gone up in the international order in approximately the same time frame. So each one of the countries is sort of reaching a new equilibrium with the world, but also with each other at the same time. It's to my mind absolutely necessary that the two countries find an equilibrium and find accommodation and understanding on the key issues which affect each other. The challenge would be, it's not do you get along with each other or not get along with each other. As I said, to me that's not a choice. I mean, we have to get along with each other. The challenge is what are the terms and what is the basis and how does it actually work.
In a session titled The India Way, Preparing for a Century of Growth and Contest, the External Affairs Minister said that there was a time when words spoke louder than actions, but that situation is changing. He pointed out that India and Russia have a relationship that is deep-rooted in geopolitics and has a unique Eurasian character that is often underplayed. On the RCEP, Jaishankar noted that it was essentially a trade agreement and that it did not meet India's expectations. It was up to the other countries involved now to make it worthwhile for India. The External Affairs Minister also emphasized that India is not shying away from responsibility. India is a net security provider with growing influence in the world. He said that India has 16 wide shipping agreements in the Indian Ocean. Indian naval ships have been sent to 8 countries in the Indian Ocean region. There are coastal surveillance radars in 6 countries and close to $2 billion in a line of defense credit to 11 countries. The minister made it clear that India is among the top performing nations in addressing issues related to climate action, according to the Climate Action Rating Tracker. Dr. Jaishankar said that the world faces many common challenges and threats and that countries need to work together to find common solutions.
Partly the world has common challenges. Terrorism is a common challenge. Separatism is a common challenge. Migration is a common challenge. So don't think that these are problems which are unique to India. And I think when people look at it and assess it and analyze it, they should in fairness ask themselves, how did they respond to it? The second thought would be, don't get fixated on the dots and forget the line.
The 5th edition of the Raisina Dialogue is being jointly organized by the Ministry of External Affairs and the Observer Research Foundation. 700 international partners from over 100 countries are participating in it. This is the largest conference of its kind. The conference started on Tuesday with Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself taking part in the opening session. With Abhishek Jha and Sudhir Yadav in Delhi, Newsnight Desk, DD India.
Now let's continue by understanding what is the India Way. So here's the India Way defined by the External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar.
It is not the India way to be an disruptionist power internationally. I think we should be a stabilizing power. I think there are already enough forces of disruption in the world. So somebody needs to make up a bit. It's also not the India way to be self-centered, to be mercantilist. Therefore, it's important to be global, it's important to be law-abiding or rule-based, whichever way you like. It's important to be consultative. I think the India way would be a country which brings its capacities to bear on the international system for global good, which is a net security provider, which is a contributor to connectivity, which is firm in dealing with challenges like terrorism, which has its values and practices, which addresses global issues like climate change. That would be one. Two, the India way now especially would be to be more of a decider or a shaper rather than an abstainer. I would here pick issues like climate change or connectivity as issues where India has made a difference in the last few years. Three, I would say India owes it to itself and to the world to be a just power, a fair power, to be a standard bearer for the South. I think it's part of our history, it's part of our political inheritance. I think India must live up to those obligations in a practical way and be the voice for the South. And finally, the India way would be really brand India, brand India in terms of what is unique to us as a power. The fact that We have this extraordinary diaspora which connects us in a way in which it does to very few powers. The fact that today we would be increasingly a pool of global talent, that our heritage, our traditions, what you've seen happen with yoga or what you see now happening with Indian traditional medicine, and also more sort of in a more modern way, I would say shaping the discourse.
So that brings us to In Focus tonight, and this is it. In Focus is Brand India, a rising global force. Brand India, a rising global force. To discuss this, we have with us Vishnu Prakash, former senior diplomat, and Kamar Aga, expert on foreign and strategic affairs. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being with us. We'll start with you, Ambassador Vishnu Prakash. So we heard the definition there of India's way. Now put it into context for us as India as a world power. What does it mean?
Today, EM Dr. Jaishankar was at his thoughtful best. That is what the thought that came to my mind as I was sitting and listening to him.
Yes.
The exposition of the India way was masterly. It was both, I would say, aspirational as well as realistic. Now, the points that you had, some of them that you had alluded to, now he was putting it in the context of, before I come to the elements which I thought were my takeaways, he was putting it in the context of A, India's track record, B, India heading in the next 10 to 15 years to be the world's third largest economy.
Okay.
C, as he said, India would like to be a standard bearer of the South.
Yes.
So, looking at all that, putting that in context, he talks of India not being a disruptor, and obviously there was a message that was going out there. That India is a stabilizing power is generally well regarded, because India has never coveted anybody's land. India has always honored its commitments, and this is something which is very well known. And the role that India in his, as he said it, to be a net security provider, very significantly that India will be a shaper, not an abstainer. I mean,
Yes.
that comes, I guess, as you grow in confidence, you grow in stature, and the best part, Mark,
Yes.
in my view, is that rise of India is unique in that it is welcomed the world over, except for one or two countries in our neighborhood. Practically every country welcomes the rise of India for the simple reason that India stands for certain policies, certain objectives which he articulated.
Fair power.
So, yes, and
Right.
his enunciation of the global challenges, his enunciation of the India's brand India,
Yes.
where he included very significantly the diaspora,
Right.
the soft power, the technological pool that we have, I think was quite masterly.
Okay.
And he came across as I mentioned, as a very thoughtful minister who was
Right.
looking at the long term.
Certainly. So it seems like a philosopher king in a sense. Kamar Aga, you tell us now, net security provider, as has been referred to by the External Affairs Minister. He also mentioned, he was questioned about certain challenges to the India way and whether India really is a net security provider, and he gave some statistics. He said that 16 white shipping agreements with countries in the Indian Ocean region. Indian naval ships are there with 18 on 8 Indian Ocean neighbors. The coastal surveillance radars are there with 6 countries. There's a defense line of credit of $2 billion. How would you look at this? There's military training with 11 countries. And all that focused on the Indian Ocean region.
Yes, that is our main focus area, in
Yes.
fact, And he also mentioned there are 3 major problems in this area: terrorism, migration, and separation.
Okay.
So in order to deal with all these things, basic idea is to protect ourselves and provide security to other countries of the region, particularly the Indian Ocean region. And India has been providing security to the sea lanes directly from Gulf of Hormuz up to Strait of Malacca for a very long time. And now American wants, the Indo-Pacific region also, should be covered by India, play a greater role in fact in this region also. And we are also having a dialogue or trilateral meetings or with these countries, Japan, America, Australia, so it's a very big area India is covering, We have challenges also, like he mentioned, terrorism and separatism. These are the two problems, which are coming from across the border, in fact, not from India.
Right.
Then there are other things, he also mentioned, that India's desire basically is to emerge as to see that a multipolar world emerges. In that context, he was mentioning our relation with Russia and China.
Yes.
He gave a lot of emphasis that we have to make a good relation. Both of us have to make come to the terms. As far as China is concerned, they said the Russians, we have traditional ties that is continuing. Strategic relations.
True.
Or geopolitical connections he mentioned. So all these things he mentioned,
Right.
And rising global power. India is a rising global power.
Recognized one, and we can look at that in the context of China as well, Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, because the answer that the External Affairs Minister gave was quite enlightening in the sense that he mentioned that the two powers are going to be 1, 2 and 3 in terms of economy in the world. So there is and then as their role in the world continues to increase, naturally their relationship also, gains by leaps and bounds. It has to increase. One is forced to, or it becomes it becomes an imperative in a sense that the relationship has to increase. We have to engage.
Very much so, and I'll take it, I'll just touch upon what Aga Saab said about an emerging multipolar world, and then it all links up.
Yes.
Now, it is quite evident that we are heading towards a multipolar world. The question is, what kind of a multipolar world? Will India's aspirations be met? Would there be a major power to our north, which Dr. Jaishankar spoke about? Because it is true that there is very rarely in human history do two major powers, large countries, neighbors, rise simultaneously.
Yes, yes.
Now China wants to have a China-centric world order. How does that fit in with our role, our desire to play a role befitting India's stature? So Dr. Jaishankar was spot on that both countries have very little choice but to find a modus vivendi, and he said that they are looking at thrashing out a new equilibrium. Now that is an ideal situation, that we kind of, the leadership of China used to say, and Dr. Manmohan Singh earlier used to say that the world is large enough to accommodate the aspirations, but it was not seen in reality. In reality, there was a different discourse altogether. Okay. But also let us be realistic. China it is very well known that in last 200 years, no navy, and I'm now talking in the context of what you just asked about, the defense or security cooperation. There's no navy in the world which has grown so fast as the Chinese navy in the last 200 years. So there are lots of moving pieces. But the bottom line is, as mature powers, as major powers, it is in common interest, as you mentioned, to work together to thrash out a canvas where we can all paint our hues to make it a mosaic.
Absolutely. Let's bring in the aspect of Russia as well, Mr. Aga. You know that, the relationship with Russia dates back to a time when they were the Soviet Union and they were a superpower. And then, of course, now the relationship is with Russia, and the External Affairs Minister was asked whether, the relationship has too much nostalgia in it for it to actually move forward. But he said that, it's a standout relationship deeply rooted in geopolitics. And an important aspect he brought about, which even in our discussions we've not really talked very much, is the Eurasia aspect. It's a Eurasia aspect. It's a Eurasian relationship. And it's extremely important from that point of view.
And the street.
And the street, yes.
And what we also talked about was what does
What
the
the people's
street want?
street,
Go
yeah,
ahead,
the
please.
street,
I
yeah,
just
go ahead.
wanted to.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
go
a
ahead.
very good point, Eurasia is very important for us, Eurasia, I mean, include, the Central Asian republics,
Right.
Which are very close to us geographically,
Right.
and we are developing the government is very keen to develop Chabahar port, connectivity to Central Asia and through Central Asia to Russia and to Europe, So this is a very important, it's a new area for us,
Right.
And the area, with whom we had centuries old ties, much before the coming of Islam in India. So these are the areas are very important. Russia is very important in the whole sphere, because Russia has.
Yeah, and as Ambassador Vishnu Prakash was mentioning about the street, he mentioned about how his mother, remembers meeting, was it Khrushchev or at that time?
At that time,
yes.
this nostalgia.
So,
is
so he
of
was
course,
and he says, so the people remember these things. I mean, that's what members, the street member remembers these things.
The people of the region want also very close ties with India, because there are
Right.
common threats of terrorism, development, and they look at the Indian model of development. I was there just last year only in
Okay.
some of the Central Asian republics, and this area, So I met a lot of officials and non-officials, public, there. The moment they get to know that you are an Indian, they feel very happy, and they would ask,
Okay. Right.
that India is the model, we should adopt, we want development. But the problem was connectivity.
Yeah.
Now the connectivity
Very well said.
is here. Our policy is vibrant,
Right.
Especially the Prime Minister is giving a lot of emphasis on foreign policy,
Right.
emergence of India as a global power, and ensuring that $5 trillion economy should emerge in next few years'
Right.
time, So these are our objectives, And this thing, the government is trying to new thrust to the policy. I mean, you can't change policy overnight, but, continuity and change is there, marked
fair
change
enough.
is there.
Let's
and vibrancy
let's
is there,
talk about
the
this issue
foreign
of connectivity, Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, because the EAM mentioned that several projects that have been that are being delivered, let's say in Bangladesh, in Nepal, Afghanistan. There are projects in Sudan, in Niger. So all these he talked specifically about in our immediate neighborhood in Africa. How important are these projects, and India as a deliverer of large projects in connectivity?
Well, very, very important, because a country like India needs to be seen to be able to walk the talk. And Dr. Jaishankar described in numbers, it was not something airy-fairy, but described in numbers what the track record of the government in the last 5 to 6 years.
Right.
Compare it with India's image hitherto, which is slowly changing, that we could not deliver. And that was something that we now have to live down. What Dr. Jaishankar mentioned was that under the present government, the NDA government, in the last 6 years,
5 years, yeah.
142 connectivity projects have been committed, of which, and connectivity projects, mind you, take time.
Of course.
Because there are a host of issues involved. 53 projects have been completed, and a large number are nearing completion. And the specified projects which have been undertaken, committed and become operational in Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and other countries. So that is a big
Yes.
change, because today we are showing that we have the will, the determination and the ability to deliver on what we are promising. And that, I think, will make a very big difference to India's image, the image of a confident nation that we are and we want to project.
And Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, coming to you once again on the relationship with the United States. Here the EAM says that India is not underperforming in this relationship. It's he would talk about underperformance more with regard to Europe,
European Union,
with European Union, and with regard to the US. In fact, the ties are excellent. There was used to be G to G, now it's B to B, T to T, P to P. I mean, he was mentioning all sorts of things.
Very much so, and I am fortunate to see the relationship grow in the last 35 years. I was posted in New York some 30 years ago, and I cannot but compare and see how the relationship has developed. As Dr. Jaishankar said, there is not one area of human endeavor where we are not cooperating. More than 50 to 60 platforms of cooperation, 2+2 dialogue. the diaspora, the technological cooperation, the educational cooperation, I mean, you name it.
Right.
And certainly we have differences. There is not one relationship of individuals or countries where we don't have differences, but we are we are able to talk with each other and move on. Now,
Right.
it is a very important relationship. It is growing. And today, the best part is rising India with $142 billion of trade in goods and services. You call a CEO of a major company and he will pick up the phone and say namaste.
Okay.
You know, so that is the
right.
kind of difference that is making, and
Absolutely.
it is bipartisan. So it's it has developed very well, and but let me just add, Mark, that
Yes.
we are, as a large nation, we will do what is in our national interest, and that is
Absolutely.
what we have
Absolutely.
demonstrated, and we have demonstrated it effectively.
Goes without saying. Okay, now let's move on to our next story. I request my guests here to sit with us because we're going to be discussing what the Iranian Foreign Minister Javad Zarif also spoke at the Raisina dialogue today, and he quite naturally referred to the recent tensions with the United States. Iran and Russia had a meeting on the sidelines of the conference. Both foreign ministers also called on Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Zarif had mentioned that India can play a role in de-escalation. The External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar said that de-escalation would depend on the steps taken by both Iran and the United States. Here's more.
Foreign ministers of 12 countries are taking part in Raisina Dialogue, India's global conference on geopolitics. These include foreign ministers of Russia, Iran, Australia, Maldives, South Africa, Estonia, Czech Republic, Denmark, Hungary, Latvia, Uzbekistan, and the European Union. All eyes were on Iranian Foreign Minister Javad Zarif amid the recent US-Iran tensions. Zarif spoke openly about the US-Iran dispute and emphasized that Iran has completed its retaliation for killing of its commander Soleimani. Zarif also reiterated that Ukrainian passenger plane was accidentally shot down by Iran. It was a mistake.
People make mistakes, unforgivable mistakes, but it happened in the time of a crisis. We need to make sure that these crises will be prevented.
Zarif said United States killing Qasem Soleimani showed its ignorance and arrogance. He termed Soleimani as the biggest threat to the ISIS and that his killing is being celebrated by terrorist groups and the US President Donald Trump. He said his country is not interested in dialogue with the United States but in diplomacy.
The United States didn't like General Soleimani, although he was the single most effective force against Daesh. Two people are celebrating, President Trump and Pompeo and Daesh. Iran is interested in diplomacy. We're not interested in negotiating with the United States because we've done it and it still hurts. I had a US deal and the US broke it. If I have a Trump deal, how long will it last?
At the Raisina Dialogue, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar said what happens next in the ongoing tensions between US and Iran depends on specific countries involved.
Where the United States and Iran are concerned, I mean, these are two obviously very individualistic, independent-minded players. Our issues are really reflective of concerns which India and frankly most of the international community has about the direction of events in that part of the world. At the end of the day, it is the ball is really in their court.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, during his address at the conference, stressed that reforms of UN Security Council are necessary and that Russia supports India and Brazil becoming permanent members at the UNSC.
The only deficiency of the Security Council is under-representation of the developing countries. And we repeatedly reiterated our position that India and Brazil absolutely deserve to be on the Council together with an African candidate.
Later, Lavrov also called on Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Prime Minister recalled his recent phone conversation with President Putin on 13 January 2020. Foreign Minister Lavrov conveyed that President Putin looks forward to the visit of Prime Minister to Russia in May 2020 to participate in the 75th anniversary celebrations of Victory Day and in July 2020 for the BRICS and SCO summits. Prime Minister Modi said he also looked forward to hosting President Putin in India for the annual bilateral summit later this year. Noting that several important decisions and outcomes were reached between the two countries in 2019, Prime Minister Modi suggested that the year 2020, which is also the 20th anniversary of the year of establishment of strategic partnership between India and Russian Federation, should be the year of implementation of those decisions. Iranian Foreign Minister Zarif also called on PM Modi and discussed bilateral and international issues with him. Prime Minister reiterated India's continued commitment to developing strong and friendly relations with Iran. He also mentioned India's strong interest in peace, security and stability in the region. PM Modi thanked Iranian leadership for the progress in Chabahar project, including designating it as a special economic zone. Javed Zarif shared his perspectives on the recent developments in the region. Iranian Foreign Minister and his Russian counterpart met on the sidelines of the conference and dwelt on the situation in the Persian Gulf. The conference takes place at a time when the world's attention is focused on the recent conflagration of tensions between Iran and US following the United States killing of Iranian military commander Major General Qasem Soleimani and the subsequent retaliation by Iran in US bases in Iraq. India has been time and again calling for de-escalation of tensions between the two countries. With Abhishek Jha and Sudhir Yadav, News Night Desk, DD News.
So, Mr. Kamaraga, why do you think Iran keeps asking for India to play a role in de-escalating tensions?
India is one country, which has good relation not only with the Iranians but also with the Americans, Saudis and UAE, along with Israel. India is the only country, which can help in this process. What Iranians want, de-escalation, because they don't want mediation. Because they once the de-escalation takes place, then after the presidential election in US, maybe negotiation or direct or indirect talks resume in America, because they think, because this is the election year, president is going to be lame duck in next few weeks or month. So therefore, the time is, to de-escalate. Iranian emphasis at the moment is, to make some sort of rapprochement with the Saudi Arabia. Where India can also play some role, and they have already improved some ties with UAE, they have good relation with Qatar,
yes.
And only once they believe, if they have improved their ties, with the Saudi Arabia, then some de-escalation would take place, at least
right.
Among the countries of the region itself, and by that way, the presence of American troops would be irrelevant, then they will demand, the American troops should withdraw, which they have been doing for some quite some time.
Yes.
India becomes very important. India is the only country, with all these countries have some trust in it,
Okay.
They don't want mediation,
Yes.
they want some escalation, they can
Right.
talk.
Let's bring in Ambassador Vishnu Prakash. So India obviously is already maintaining close ties with countries in the region, Ambassador Vishnu Prakash. So and India is concerned on its own about what's happening there. So I mean, even without a request for India to play some sort of a role in de-escalating tensions, we also heard that the External Affairs Minister said right at the start, India is a stabilizing force. How would you look at this?
And he also said loud and clear and categorical and unequivocal, and I kind of maybe paraphrasing it slightly, but he said that Iran and the US are two very individualistic and independent nations.
Right,
the ball is in their court.
That's right.
Now, there can be nothing more categorical in diplomatic parlance than saying, these are the two countries which have spoken to each other in the past. They speak a language which each other understands. They have enough channels, back channels, other channels. Let them find a modus vivendi. And I would be very reluctant to get into any kind of a role with these two powers, because it is best sorted out amongst them. If you permit me, I would like to mention one or two takeaways for me, because I was very carefully listening at the Raisina dialogue to Zarif's address. And one thing that he mentioned was quite significant. He said that JCPOA was not signed with President Obama, it was signed with the USA.
Okay.
And it is very important that agreements between nations are honored.
Right, that's important. So Kamaraga, he also spoke now. If an agreement with the US is not honored, then what would the Trump deal be? Because and you said that the current US president will become a lame duck president because it's an election year. In this context, how do you see this, this particular escalation playing out? Or would it's already de-escalating because both countries have taken a certain position, but how do you see it playing out?
See, I think the de-escalation, when the Iranians talk, they talk about relation with Saudi Arabia, relation with Israel, relation with other countries within the region. They want first to diffuse tension at the local level, then they'll have bargaining capacity with the Americans to deal with them, or whosoever come in the next administration. They see, you see, Iran doesn't want war because they know that America is too powerful. But they have also communicated that if the war is imposed on them, then they have the chance, they will retaliate in the region. They cannot go and reach up to the American, but they will definitely,
Right.
target the American and their allies' interest in the region. So they have some bargaining points with them, which they are exploiting again and again,
Right, but Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, the cost of this kind of escalation we've seen, because we saw that the Ukrainian passenger plane was shot down by a mistake. It's a very costly mistake, one would think, isn't it? And such things can't happen. So even the world is concerned that, this kind of escalation should not take place because of such accidents.
No, that frankly is very, very disappointing and shocking. Nations are geared to handle crisis. With all due respect to say that because there was crisis and confusion, this thing happened. I say God forbid such incidents happen anywhere else. It will be hell to pay. Now this should not have happened. Now the only thing is, in my view, West Asia forgiveness, turning the other cheek, is not seen as a virtue, it is seen as a weakness. And I don't see, I will be very happy if I am proven wrong. I don't see that this is de-escalation. It is a tactical de-escalation where Iran has decided that they will mark their time and place to do what, because elimination of a leader like Soleimani cannot be taken lightly by any country, leave alone Iran. So I think it's a very combustible situation. I have my views on the possible rapprochement between Saudi Arabia and Iran, that I don't see why Saudi Arabia should cut slack to Iran. So it's a very difficult situation. It needs cool heads. I hope that the sides can find modus vivendi to move on.
Right.
That is my earnest hope.
Kamaraga, how much truth is there that Daesh would actually rise again after the killing of Soleimani?
You see, they're not much, they don't have much support among the Arabs at the moment, because the democratic movement has emerged in most of the Arab countries. We have seen in Sudan, Algeria, Tunisia, then whole of Sahel region, Iraq, even in Iran, demonstrations are taking place, Then reports which are coming from other countries, where the people are not buying the Islamic idea. They have come to, the Arabs have come to realize that Islamic militancy cannot deliver. So once again, the democratic movement is resurfacing, or the second Arab Spring, which they call it, is emerging, not only in that region, but the whole of the world, right from, we have seen it in Hong Kong, we have seen it in many other countries, where people are demonstrating. So is in Iran. Iran, see, I just want to add one thing, Saudis are very disturbed. They don't want a war. They have said it categorically now. Earlier, they were talking to the Israelis. They were telling Americans to go for a war with Iran. Openly, they were saying. But now they think, that if the war takes place, it's the main brunt will be to Saudi and the other
final word from you, Ambassador Vishnu Prakash. We were talking a little earlier about back channel. At least the two parties actually have enough back channel diplomacy going on. But here's a request that India plays a role, and you said that India should not play a role. But would you say, with all this talk that India now, in fact, you look what Russia says, that India should be on the UN Security Council as a permanent member, and then there are questions being put to our external affairs minister, is India decisive or India is passive, all these sort of things. How would you look at it now?
Well, India needs to be proactive. We cannot afford to be a fence sitter, but proactive also needs calibration. We need to kind of make haste slowly. We need to decide very carefully where and when and how to play a role, and that is wise leadership. I would I cannot endorse, but I would again bring out what Dr. Jaishankar has said. In my book, he was quite categorical that at least of now, that's my addition to that, that at least as things stand today, it is for the two countries to decide. And Mr. Zarif himself mentioned that about 8 hours before the so-called strike, counter-strike, I call it so-called for reasons that we can talk if we have to, that through Switzerland a message was sent to the Americans that Iran wants to de-escalate. Now that is what he said, but there could be much more to it. So there are channels, and the messages are going very easily back and forth. It depends on the will of the two countries.
Okay, we leave it there. Thank you very much, gentlemen, because we've run short of time. Thanks very much for being with us, Ambassador Vishnu Prakash and Kamaraga, for talking to us about both the India way, as well as the ties between the US and Iran, which are quite tense. Moving on now to our next story. Ministers from 12 countries called on Prime Minister Narendra Modi at his residence on the sidelines of the Raisina dialogue. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Latvia, Uzbekistan, the Czech Republic, Hungary, Maldives, Estonia, Denmark, the National Security Advisor of Afghanistan, the Minister of Information of Bangladesh, the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation of South Africa, the Secretary General of the Commonwealth, and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization were the delegates who called on Prime Minister. The Prime Minister spoke about the large-scale efforts undertaken by the government for rapid and inclusive socio-economic development and highlighted their significance for alleviating major global developmental challenges and attaining sustainable development goals. The election fever is heating up in Delhi, and several former members of the ruling Aam Aadmi Party who were denied tickets have crossed over now to the BJP. The BJP has accused the AAP of betraying the legacy of the Anna movement, with several of its leaders accused of serious charges. The Congress party too has made similar allegations against the AAP. However, the ruling party in Delhi denies all these allegations. It believes it has the support of the people.
Politics is hotting up in Delhi after notification for the assembly elections. Ticket distribution is also picking up pace, and candidates are busy hopping from one party to another. On Wednesday, a number of AAP members who were earlier active during the Anna movement moved over to the BJP. Senior leader Prakash Javadekar, who is also the election in charge for Delhi, inducted the new members. He said Kejriwal cheated Anna Hazare.
केजरीवाल यानी मुख्यमंत्री आम आदमी पार्टी बिहारी और उत्तर प्रदेश के लोगों को केवल बाहरी नहीं समझती, अवैध घुसपैठी समझती है। ये इसका मुद्दा है। इनके एमएलएस आज उम्मीदवार भी है, और जो कॉर्पोरेटर्स हैं, उन्होंने कैसे दिल्ली को आग लगाई और कैसे अशांति का और हिंसा का माहौल तैयार किया, ये दिल्ली ने देखा है। दिल्ली जाग उठी।
Tuesday saw much uproar over ticket distribution in the Aam Aadmi Party. AAP MLA from Badarpur, N.D. Sharma, resigned from the party, accusing it of selling tickets.
मनीष सिसोदिया जी ने अपने घर पर बुला के बोला है कि आपके यहाँ से 20-21 करोड़ रुपया लेकर राम सिंह नेता टिकट चाह रहा है। उन्होंने मेरे से 10 करोड़ रुपए की डिमांड करी थी। एक्चुअली जहाँ से मोटा बैग गया है, वहाँ इन्होंने टिकटें काटी हैं।
The Aam Aadmi Party has firmly denied all charges.
किसी का भी टिकट कटता है, उसको दुख होना स्वाभाविक है, लेकिन साथ ही साथ ये हमारे परिवार के लोग हैं, ये महसूस करते हैं कि भाई इसी पार्टी ने टिकट दिया, विधायक बने, जनता के सहयोग से इतना प्यार स्नेह मिला, 5 साल तक विधायक रहे अपने क्षेत्र से, तो हमसे तुरंत मोह भंग हो जाएगा और हमसे दूर हो जाएंगे। हम इनको अपने आप से अलग नहीं होने देंगे।
But the BJP launched another broadside against the AAP, saying that nearly 15 AAP candidates are facing serious cases. The Congress has also cornered AAP on similar grounds. Congress candidates list is expected to be out soon.
आम आदमी पार्टी ने किसी समय ये कहा था कि हम 4 चीज़ों के ऊपर समझौता नहीं करेंगे, जिसमें से एक था करप्शन, दूसरा था क्राइम, तीसरा था कम्युनलिज्म और चौथा था करेक्टर। आज इन्होंने चारों के ऊपर कंप्रोमाइज किया है।
ये दिखाता है कि कितना खोखलापन है इस पार्टी के अंदर, कि इनके पास अपने कैंडिडेट नहीं और ढूंढ रहे हैं कि कांग्रेस के लोग टूट के आ जाएं। इसका सोचना इसको दर्शाता है कि इसके अंदर कोई दम नहीं। जिस तरह की ये बातें करता था, मैं अब इस बार 70 की 70 लेंगे, मुझे समझता है 7 तक निपट जाएगा।
Meanwhile, the Election Commission has started preparation for free and fair polls. Over 1,47 lakh voters are expected to exercise their franchise in the Delhi elections.
अभी जो स्थिति है इलेक्टोरल रोल की, वो है कि हमारे पास कुल 1,47,08,573 वोटर हैं और ये अभी और बढ़ेगा क्योंकि जो फॉर्म्स हमारे पास 11 तारीख तक आए थे उनका डिस्पोजल अभी प्रोसेस में है।
After implementation of the Model Code of Conduct, the Election Commission has removed over 4 lakh posters and banners in Delhi. With Shailendra Mishra and Rishi Kumar in Delhi, Newsnight Desk, DD India.
The Army Chief General Naravane has hailed the abrogation of Article 370 as a historic step. He said that the move has disrupted the plans of India's western neighbor and its proxies. He pointed out that the armed forces have a zero-tolerance policy against terrorism. The Army Chief was speaking at the 72nd Army Day function, which was held at the Karyappa Parade Ground in Delhi Cantonment.
On the occasion of the 72nd Army Day, this heartwarming video shows the valor and courage of the Jawans. These visuals are of 100 soldiers of Jammu and Kashmir's Chinar Corps, who along with 30 other locals are taking a pregnant woman named Shamima to the hospital on a stretcher during heavy snowfall. According to them, the woman Shamima required emergency hospitalization and had to be taken on a stretcher to the hospital. The army personnel along with 30 civilians walked her on a stretcher for 4 hours continuously. Prime Minister Narendra Modi retweeted this video and praised Army for their efforts. PM wrote, "Our Army is known for its valor and professionalism. It is also respected for its humanitarian spirit. Whenever people have needed help, our Army has risen to the occasion and done everything possible. Proud of our Army. I pray for the good health of Shamima and her child." President Ramnath Kovind, PM Modi and Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh joined the at-home reception on Army Day in New Delhi. They interacted with Veer Naris and Gallantry Award winners. In a tweet, the President said, "The nation salutes and expresses gratitude to the brave men and women of the Indian Army, veterans and their families." Field Marshal K.M. Karyappa took command of the Indian Army from General Francis Butcher on 15 January 1949, and since then, Army Day is celebrated on 15th January. The main event was held at the parade ground in Delhi, Kent, where Chief of Army Staff M.M. Narvane saluted the brave soldiers who laid down their lives for the security of the country. He also stated that the army follows the policy of zero tolerance against terror.
आतंक के प्रति हमारा पॉलिसी जीरो टॉलरेंस का है। आतंकवाद को बढ़ावा देने वाले देश के खिलाफ आतंक करने वालों को जवाब देने के लिए हमारे पास अनेक विकल्प हैं, जिनका इस्तेमाल करने में हम नहीं हिचकिचाएंगे।
Describing the scrapping of the most of the provisions of Article 370 from Jammu and Kashmir, the Army Chief said that this would help the Union Territory to join the mainstream.
लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल की स्थिति जम्मू और कश्मीर के हालात से जुड़ी हुई है। धारा 370 को हटाना ऐतिहासिक कदम है, जो जम्मू और कश्मीर को राष्ट्रीय मुख्य धारा में जोड़ने के लिए महत्वपूर्ण साबित होगा। इस फैसले ने पश्चिमी पड़ोसी और उसके प्रॉक्सीज की योजना को बाधित कर दिया है।
A special event was organized at the National War Memorial in Delhi on the occasion of Army Day, where CDS General Bipin Rawat and the 3 chiefs of Army Staff remembered the martyrs. There were many more events held across the country on Army Day. A tribute was paid to the War Memorial at Kolaba Military Station in Mumbai. A mini marathon was organized in Ludhiana. The marathon saw large-scale participation from students. On this day, the entire nation remembers the Army's indomitable courage, valor, sacrifice and professionalism, as they have always stood as pillars and protect our borders from the evil eye of the enemy. Newsnight Desk, DD News.
And the Union Home Minister Amit Shah has stated that Prime Minister Narendra Modi had started the Prasar Bharati program years ago, which played a supporting role in the ease of doing business, laying the foundation of the Indian Institute of Skills in Gandhinagar in Gujarat. He said that we are on the right path to realizing the vision and the mission of making India a $5 trillion economy. The Home Minister said the government has linked apprenticeship with it to make Prasar Bharati program more attractive. He said that this would help in providing employment.
स्किल इंडिया का जो उनका मिशन है वो न केवल युवाओं को रोजगारी देगा, न केवल युवाओं को छोटी छोटी इंडस्ट्री लगाने के लिए प्रेरित करेगा, परंतु उनके माध्यम से मेक इन इंडिया का स्वप्न भी सफल करेगा और $5 ट्रिलियन की इकोनॉमी बनने का जो हमारा स्वप्न है, विश्व के अर्थतंत्रों की तालिका में तीसरे नंबर पर आने का जो हमारा लक्ष्य है, वो लक्ष्य ही भी निश्चित रूप से हम सिद्ध कर पाएंगे, उसका मुझे भरोसा है।
Well, sources in the Union Home Ministry have said that while updating NPR, information about Aadhaar number, mobile number, driving license and voter ID card can be sought, although documents will not be asked for about this. While updating the NPR, neither any type of document will be demanded, nor any biometric data be taken. The sources said that the NPR is only being updated, which already has a database of 119 crore people. The process of updating the NPR will be completed along with the House listing, that is between the 1st of April 2020 and the 30th of September 2020. So according to the Home Ministry, notification was issued last year to update the register, which was again notified by all the states and the union territories. Not only this, like the census, the pretest of the NPR was done in all the states and the union territories, in which neither any problem nor any complaint was revealed. So the first time the NPR was prepared was in fact in 2010. The NPR was updated in 2015. You're watching Newsnight. Let's take a look at news from around the country. Here's our regional roundup.
Hizbul Mujahideen's top terrorist Harun Wani killed by security forces during an encounter in Jammu and Kashmir's Doda district. Army recovered an AK-47 rifle, 3 magazines, 73 rounds and a Chinese grenade from the site. In Nirbhaya case, Delhi government has sent its recommendation rejecting the mercy plea filed by Mukesh Singh to the LG. Mukesh is one of the 4 death row convicts in the 2012 rape and murder case. This came after Delhi High Court dismissed convict's plea challenging death warrant. FASTag has become mandatory at toll plazas from today. To facilitate smooth flow of traffic, FASTag norms for 65 toll plazas with high cash transactions have been relaxed into hybrid lanes for 30 days. In 1984 anti-Sikh riots case, the Justice Dhingra Committee has submitted its report in the Supreme Court and the centre has said that they have accepted the findings. The government has also said that it will take necessary action accordingly. Supreme Court dismissed the petition to put stay on traditional bull taming sport Jallikattu in Tamil Nadu, after which the sport kicked off across the state with over 700 bulls and about 750 participants. Delhi court grants bail to Bhim Army Chief Chandrasekhar Azad, who was accused of inciting people during an anti-CAA protest at Jama Masjid on December 20th. BSP Chief Mayawati urged the centre to withdraw the amended citizenship law. The Chhattisgarh government moved Supreme Court seeking National Investigation Agency Act be declared as unconstitutional and arbitrary. It is the first state to challenge the act. Unnao rape convict Kuldeep Singh Sengar moved Delhi High Court challenging his conviction and imprisonment. His petition is under objection and will be listed for hearing once all defects are cured.
And Makar Sankranti, a traditional festival from ancient times, is being celebrated today. It is one of the few festivals in our country which follows the solar cycle, and almost always it falls either on the 14th or the 15th of January. Now, many observers go to sacred rivers, they take a bath where, as the ceremony is also thanks to the sun. and the prayers to the sun and bathing at Prayag confluence, the river Ganga and Yamuna, is also a common feature of Makar Sankranti.
The harvest season is here and so are the festivals welcoming the season. Makar Sankranti, Bhogali Bihu or Thai Pongal. These may be different names for festivals, but they're celebrated with the same zeal all across India. They mark the beginning of the harvest season. Makar Sankranti is celebrated in the northern part of the country. Pongal and Bihu are the biggest festivals in Tamil Nadu and Assam. Makar Sankranti marks the end of the month with the winter solstice and the start of longer days. Many people begin this day by taking holy dips and paying obeisance to God. People in Ayodhya, Varanasi, Prayagraj and many other places took holy dips on the auspicious occasion. The day is celebrated by preparing khichdi, making til laddus and flying kites.
सरयुग की स्नान का महत्व वो है कि आँख का पलक जितना देर गिरता उठता है उसकी महिमा का वर्णन नहीं से साधा भी नहीं किया है रामचरितमानस में हमारा
आज भगवान सूर्य उत्तरायण हुए हैं। आज से देवताओं का दिन प्रारंभ हुआ, इसलिए भारतीय संस्कृति की मान्यता के अनुसार आज से देवता संबंधी प्राण प्रतिष्ठा, गृह प्रवेश आदि सारे शुभ कर्म संपादित होना शुरू हो जाएंगे।
Pongal is a 4-day-long festival celebrated with much fervour in the southern belt of India. Also known as Thai Pongal, the festival is celebrated with boiling freshly harvested rice, with fresh milk and jaggery in a new clay pot. While preparing the dish, people let the milk spill over the pot as it is considered an auspicious sign of material abundance and prosperity. Celebrated with great fervour in Assam, Bhogali Bihu is a festival of abundance of food and grains. The week-long festival is also known as Magh Bihu. It is celebrated by preparing a variety of dishes, cleaning the houses, people wearing traditional attires and dancing to various folk songs on traditional musical instruments. President Ramnath Kovind and Prime Minister Narendra Modi took to Twitter to extend their greetings to the people. Every year, these festivals bring in joy and a ray of hope for a better and prosperous future.
Well, in some international news now, the House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff will lead the prosecution of President Donald Trump at his impeachment trial in the Senate. This is what the House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has announced earlier today. Schiff is a Democratic lawmaker from California and would be the House lead manager at Trump's Senate trial, which is expected to begin on Tuesday, Pelosi said. Now, let's look at other news in this World Wrap.
The Russian government has resigned after President Vladimir Putin proposed a referendum to amend the country's constitution. Putin thanked Medvedev for his work and urged the Prime Minister and the cabinet to continue their work until a new government is put in place. In his address to lawmakers, Putin said it is necessary to put the entire package proposed to changes in the constitution to a public vote. The proposal seeks to increase the powers of parliament while maintaining a strong presidential system. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani dismissed the proposal for a new Trump deal aimed at resolving a nuclear row. He called it a strange offer and criticized US President Trump for always breaking promises. Death toll in the massive avalanches and snow-related incidents in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir has risen to 111. The army has been deployed for rescue and relief operations. The Neelam Valley in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir is worst hit, with avalanches killing 73 people. 52 homes have been destroyed and 82 damaged in the area. 31 people died in Balochistan and at least 7 in Sialkot and other districts of Punjab over the past few days. Ukraine has asked Iran to hand over the black box flight recorders of a Ukrainian passenger plane that crashed after being hit by Iranian missiles. Ukraine's Office of the General Prosecutor has said that it would take all measures to properly decode the black boxes and preserve evidence in the investigation of the accident. Firefighters in Spain have found the body of another victim who died after a massive explosion and fire at a chemical factory in Tarragona in northeastern Spain. The victim has been identified as employee of the factory. The explosion sent flames and plumes of black smoke billowing for kilometers. Hundreds of firefighters battled through the night to try and contain the blaze, which erupted around 7 p.m. on Tuesday. The Civil Defense Agency has said that latest air quality tests have not shown any risk. Climate change and environmental destruction top the risks highlighted by world decision makers in a survey ahead of the 2020 Davos World Economic Forum. Delegates, including 53 heads of state and 1,700 business leaders, will participate in the forum from the 21st till the 24th of January. Ways to mobilize businesses and entrepreneurs to reduce climate change and protect biodiversity will be one of the top priorities at the forum. Swedish environmental activist Greta Thunberg will take part for the second year in a row.
And some sports news. Assam's contingent reaped a wonderful harvest on Bihu as their lawn bowlers helped the state double their gold medal haul to 6 at the Khelo India Youth Games. West Bengal joined Assam in stealing Maharashtra and Haryana's thunder on Wednesday by also winning 3 precious medals. And on a day on which 17 gold medals were at stake, Maharashtra and Haryana picked up 2 each to stay on top of the medals tally.
On the 6th day of the Khelo India Youth Games in Guwahati, Gujarat won the gold in the volleyball final match. In the volleyball under-21 category final, Gujarat boys beat Haryana 3-1. Gujarat won the first set by 25-22. Haryana then won the second set by 25-21 to make a comeback. However, Gujarat won the next 2 sets 25-21, 25-16. Haryana's Arab Singh defeated Rajasthan's Mukesh Kumar to win the gold in boys under-17 individual pursuit cycling event. Maharashtra's Pooja Danola defeated Manipur's Norem Chanu to win the gold medal in under-17 girls individual pursuit cycling event. Race cyclist Swasti Singh added another yellow medal to her kitty of medals as she bagged a gold in the girls under-21 individual pursuit cycling event. Assam lawn ball players gave the home state the perfect Bhogali Bihu gift by winning 3 golds and a bronze on the 6th day. Assam defeated Delhi 23-7 in the under-21 category. In shooting under-21 mixed trap event, Madhya Pradesh clinched the gold. Akash Kushwaha and Neeru won the trap gold with a score of 46 in the final. Haryana had to settle for silver, while bronze went to Delhi. West Bengal's Ayushi Poddar and Amartya Mukherjee got the gold in the air rifle mixed under-21 event. Tamil Nadu won the silver, while Punjab got the bronze.
On day 6 also, Khelo India Youth Games saw many young champions. As far as medal tally is concerned, Maharashtra is at the top, followed by Haryana. And there is a battle between these teams. With camera person Sandeep, this is Narayan, DD News, Guwahati.
That concludes News Night for tonight. And happy Makar Shankranatri to all of you, and Pongal and Bihu. Namaskar. Thanks for being with us.